you were very open about being homeless, almost.
Yes.
You were cleaning. You were, in the pharmacy business, left it, and you were also in a marriage that did not serve you.
No.
You felt like you were at rock bottom.
Well, my mom said to me, we could be driving home right now and we could get hit by a truck. Would you be okay with your life and the way you live and the decisions you're making? Like, would you be okay to die right now? And nobody had ever put nothing to me like that.
Before exits and valuations, before building one of the most recognized brands in women's health, Beatrice Dixon faced setbacks that would have ended most journeys. Homelessness, a marriage that did not serve her, crippling health challenges. But each moment became a turning point. And we are back from the summer break. Welcome to Billion Dollar Moves. Today, I'm joined by the co-founder of The Honey Pot, the first plant-derived feminine care line to hit shelves at Target, Walmart, and Walgreens. What began as a product Beatrice Dixon formulated for herself grew into a powerhouse brand generating tens of millions in annual revenue, reaching a valuation north of $400 million, and culminating in a landmark 9-figure exit to Compass Diversified in 2021. Bea's journey is a testament to resilience and reinvention, from rock bottom to building generational wealth, from creating out of necessity to rewriting the entire future of women's health and ownership. And I could not think of a better way to kick off Season 3, where we spotlight what I call the modern matriarch, women reimagining both impact and wealth. Let's lock in.
You felt like you were at rock bottom.
Yes.
But then at one point, you said enough was enough. You had a mindset shift.
Yeah.
Bring us back to that moment.
Where all of the things that you just mentioned were over like maybe 6 or 7 years, right? Like they weren't all like on top of each other. But the thing that's interesting about those moments is that there wasn't really a moment in between any of those moments where I stopped and reflected on all of the things that you just mentioned. As it relates to the moment that I had where I decided that I wanted to change my life, me and the ex had a bad argument that morning. This was actually me going back to the doctor, and the doctor told me that there was something going on with my thyroid. And so I get in the car with my mom, because my mom came with me to the doctor. And I was like, Mommy, she said everything was fine, but she said something was wrong with my thyroid. And my mom was like, we don't have thyroid problems in our family, like what? And so there's an old wives' tale. If your thyroid is off, it's probably because you're lying to yourself about something. I don't know if you've ever heard this before. And so she was like, what are you hiding? What are you holding on to? Because we don't have those kinds of issues. You've never had any thyroid issues. And basically what I was holding on to was the fact that I didn't want to be in this marriage, that I didn't like my life, that I was depressed. It wasn't just the marriage. It was just everything.
That conversation became Bea's turning point. Within weeks, she walked away from a marriage and into building a new life, one defined by purpose.
Let's rewind a little bit to bring us back to the genesis story of Honey Pot. Did you see this writing on the wall that you would be this massive entrepreneur with hundreds of millions exit in the way that you've carved it?
I wasn't thinking about it like that. I just wanted to make products that would serve humanity, to be honest with you. I didn't know anything about an exit back then, not to the tune of what it could be. It's not that I didn't know about it. It wasn't the brass tacks of why we were doing what we were doing. The reason why we were doing what we were doing was to serve, right? It was to make things that could work. It was to fill a white space.
I know you experienced this yourself.
Yeah.
Deep issues with BV, which inspired the Honey Pot that we know today.
Yes.
And love.
I had just moved to Atlanta. I moved to Atlanta in 2005. This was 6 years later when I started to get BV. First of all, I was outside. Atlanta in 2005 was fun. It was ridiculous, 112 was open, Visions was open. We were cute. So we were outside. I was enjoying myself, and I was getting to know who I was. And I was also kind of sowing my wild oats. And I also kind of got tired of working in pharmacy. Then I got myself together because I was like, I can't keep living like this, going out Monday through Friday, getting home at 3, going to work at 7 or 8. Like, it's just not, it wasn't it. And so I started to change my life, and I got a job at Whole Foods, working in Whole Body, which is like Whole Foods version of a pharmacy, right? While I was at Whole Foods, that I started to get these recurring bacterial vaginosis infections. Mm-hmm. It would happen every single month right after my period. I lived on clindamycin, metronidazole, Flagyl. But the thing is I had no idea that you should not live on antibiotics. It's killing every ounce of microbiome you have, right? It's like a bomb that just goes off inside your body and it kills everything. I was desperate for relief because the medical doctors, whatever they were giving me, it wasn't working. And then one morning, my grandmother came and met me in a dream. She had told me that she had been walking with me, seeing me struggle, and she knew what to do. And so she handed me a piece of paper. It had a list of ingredients. And basically, she just told me I needed to memorize what was on the paper because she wasn't going to be able to be there long. And then she said, "Wake up." And I just jumped up out of my sleep and I woke up. I literally woke up saying apple cider vinegar, coconut, lavender, rose water. I woke up saying the list. I wrote it down. I went to work that day. I had BV at the time. It just was very uncomfortable, very shameful too, because you felt ashamed to be the person who stunk up the car or stunk up the bathroom. It's embarrassing. Yeah. I went to work. I bought all the stuff. I went home, had no idea what this was going to turn into. And so I made this formula and it was a wash. And I started using it right away. And when I tell you, that thing was like magic. The odor went away. A couple days later, the discharge went away. And I looked up and I realized that the infection that I had was gone.
Wow.
And that was the moment, that I realized that this is what I would do.
You call your brother, of course. I hear there was a $500 credit card involved in initial help that he provided.
It was more than the credit card. It was, it was just like, at first I would constantly go to him and ask him questions. What should I do about this? What should I do about that? And he was like, okay, let me just give you this so you can just do what you need to do. At first, we didn't make product and sell it. Mm-hmm. I would make it and give it away because you have to make sure what you're doing is right.
My sister asked me to help her with a feminine care company. But my background is something that's value added to the company. I'm a CPA by trade, worked at PwC for a decade and started my own practice. And at some point, I had to actually close shop and join her. When we first started off, it was just bootstrap. My sister and I and our credit cards. And that's how we got through the first 5 years. Mm-hmm. And then as we were building, we got a call from Target. And Target said, "Hey, I've seen your product. We would love to bring you in." And my sister calls me and says, "Target just sent me an email." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" They sent an email to her because they had been speaking to one of their buyers, were speaking to one of our customers. And so they suggested us. And they said, "Hey, we're going to give you guys a shot and we're going to put you in 1,000 stores. We have to fund it." Exactly. So our first round was a friends and family round. Bea made this product by hand for the first 5 years. So by the time we were looking to raise a little bit of money to able to support the stores for Target, we already had kind of a warm leads because they had physically seen her working in the same office as I.
With a $21,000 loan from her brother Simon Gray, Bea moved from kitchen experiments to full-time hustle, even working another job to sustain her dream. Within a year, her product sold out at a hair show in Atlanta, then it landed in Whole Foods and soon enough in Target. Inc. reports that the company grew from $40,000 in initial sales to $250,000 the very next year. And that pressure pushed the first big pitch to Target.
Somebody that I was giving product to, or at some point later on was selling product to, was like, "Hey, you should go to the Bronner Brothers hair show." I had never heard of the Bronner Brothers hair show. She gave me Efren's number and was like, "Give him a call. He'll hook you up with a booth," right? I call, I do all the stuff, find out how much it's going to be, talk to Cy. And it's expensive, especially when you have nothing. And Cy made it happen. He went and found a couple of his friends. He pulled some money in himself too. And that's where we launched Honey Pot. We went to the show. We took 600 bottles. We sold out in a few days. It was wild. And then we went on to just run the business. I think the first year we did like $30,000 in sales or something like that, which is a lot of money for something that just came out of thin air.
And you were just selling this, making this in small batches.
Yes, we were making it in small batches at my house, then at his office, then back at my house. Sold it online. We shipped it ourselves. We just did everything ourselves. Imagine $30,000 worth of bottles. That's 3,000 bottles for that year. And then the following year, we did like $240,000. A couple years in, we got an email from Target and we got our opportunity.
Target was monumental for you. How did it change your business?
Target is monumental for many reasons. Target gave us the ability to mass produce our products, get it out of the house. Yep. It gave us the opportunity to raise money so that we could grow our business. It gave us the opportunity to go into more mass market. Target also was beautiful for us because it put us on the national stage. A part of their like Black Beyond Measure campaigns that they were doing, especially around the time when George Floyd passed away. And so they really started to invest in Black-owned businesses. We were the brand in a Target commercial that launched during Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, it was wild.
So bring us back to that negotiation, right? We're here to learn from you in terms of the smart decisions that you made and maybe some mistakes you made along the way. When you were negotiating with Target, knowing that they had such huge leverage, I mean, it's a dream for many founders to have their products in the aisles of Target. How would you have done things differently, if at all?
I wouldn't have done anything different. You can't have expectations when going into a mass market retailer. You really, especially if you've never been in one, you have to just go with the flow. You're not really negotiating.
You're accepting the terms?
You're accepting the terms because normally the terms are in place. Because they're not just terms for you. Yeah. They're terms for pretty much anybody that's on this shelf. I think that one thing that's really important, everybody wants to be in mass market retail. But going into mass market retail, you need to be responsible with yourself, your business, your customers. You want to be in a position where you're ready.
And I want to double click on that because I've heard you speak about how you built your business.
Yeah.
And you're very clear from day one that this business is to make money, right?
Absolutely.
Every business is to make money.
Yeah.
But a lot of people misunderstand that. And also, I guess, for women of color, right? Yeah. Often there's a perception of it's for impact. There must be impact there. There's a misperception of what it should represent for the people, for the business. Talk to us a little bit about that angle.
So I do agree that there should be social impact. We've been doing social impact before we even had money. We used to work with AfriPads back in the day. Even if we were able to send them $1,000 a year, we at least were investing in humans who did not have access to the products that we made. You can't do anything for anybody else if you cannot do for yourself. I'm sorry. With my family and my friends and my colleagues, we did not create this business for there to not be wealth generation. If we're doing that, we are hustling backwards. There is no reason on the planet Earth that anybody should just be in business, in my opinion. If you are not a nonprofit organization, your goal should be for your business to print money. And if your business is printing money, and if your business has had to bring in venture capitalists, if your business has had to bring in private equity, right, which my business has done that, you have to make a point to be responsible with that. When somebody gives you $1, honestly, they want back 10.
Yeah. With the demand came decisions, fundraising, expansion of the product line, and supply chain pressure. Bea raised her first round in 2017 and walked away from financial dependency to run the company full-time. By 2023, Honey Pot achieved over $121 million in gross sales across more than 33,000 US stores, including Walmart, CVS, and Walgreens.
Take us back to that first round of funding of taking external capital. Walk us through that decision-making process of selling a part of your business.
We got into Target. We got into 1,100 doors of Target. Each store sets 3 to 6 pieces, and then they order every week after. When you do that math, that's a lot of product that you have to have. So you have to have access to capital. In order for us to mass produce our product, that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then we needed to create a branding, like a story, packaging, logos, taglines. Those are the ways that you create relationship with the human that you want to serve. Also, the way that we shop is visual. It needs to be beautiful. So there was no way that we were going to do that. The money that we were making was to sustain our business. It wasn't to be able to go into Target and scale. That money that we were making was to go back to the manufacturer and make us some more wash, make us some more wipe. Then it's time for you to go into more retail. It's time for you to innovate. It's time for you to be able to double down and support your products on shelf. You need money. So then you have to go out and raise it again. We didn't raise enough because you think, well, let me just raise what I need. Well, anytime you think you need a certain amount of money, you should probably multiply that by like 3 or 2, because that's probably really the amount of money you need. And then kind of the third or the fourth time is the charm, where you've been out in the world, you've raised money before, you've learned, you've seen your mistakes, you've seen how you've run out of money. When we got that Target commercial. Yeah. And that's when we brought in private equity, VMG, which stands for Velocity Made Good. They're one of the best private equity funds for consumer packaged goods. That was where we did a very meaningful raise with a pretty good valuation. When you get with private equity, guess what comes next? There's rules. Mm-hmm. They're not getting involved unless you're saying, hey, in the next 4 to 5 years, you got to sell this business. They have LPs. They've got people to answer to. They raise a fund. And so in order for them to do business with you, you have to say that this is what you're doing, because they have to return on their investments in that amount of time. That doesn't mean that all of them win, but they need a few of them to win in order to continue to do it over and over again.
Yeah. Then came the moment most founders dream of, and many compromise on. In 2024, Compass Diversified acquired a majority stake in the Honey Pot for $380 million in cash. But here's the kicker. Bea actually turned down a $450 million offer before. When asked why, she didn't flinch. I would have been selling my soul. Some founders prioritize price. Bea prioritized alignment with her vision, her team, and her legacy.
So you have now sold 85% of your company to Compass.
Yes.
And as we're going deep into the whole thinking of building a successful, sustainable business that creates generational wealth.
Absolutely.
What made you decide to work with Compass? I know you had higher offers.
Yeah, we did. Much higher.
Much higher. But you decided to go to Compass and, importantly, sell the majority stake, but still be operative in the business with a lower share.
The reason why it was Compass was because they believed in this leadership team. They believed in the team that was existing. They believed that we were the best to run our business. They believe in the future that we see. There was partnership in a really beautiful way. And it didn't feel like we were going to sell our soul. And so it was the right thing for us. And they were the right partner. And they continue to be.
Today, Bea remains at the helm as CEO and Chief Innovation Officer, continuing to drive growth while holding a significant minority stake. She's more than a founder. She's a modern matriarch, proving resilience and wealth can coexist with integrity, community impact, and ancestral wisdom.
So you mentioned Target a few times and the Target commercial, but of course it did come with backlash.
Of course.
What do you think about just founders being hit left, right, center today, where you said it's increasingly tough to be successful under such scrutiny as well?
So first of all, it's going to happen. You have to be resolute in who you are first and foremost, what your goals are, what is your North Star, what are you pointing towards, and you have to be grounded in truth. Typically, if you're a company that's hit scale, that's growing, that's successful, you're going to have a viral moment. A lie is going to get started and it's going to go like wildfire. And people believe, unfortunately, what they hear. Some do, not all. In this particular instance, there was one part of the commercial where I was sitting down with somebody and he asked me like 1,000 questions. And the one that they chose was asking me, why was it so important for Honey Pot to be successful? And normally I don't bring sexuality or race into the conversation. But there's a reason to bring it in, which my answer still is today, because I have a responsibility to humans of color, to humans with vaginas. I have a responsibility for this business to be successful when people that look like me can be successful, it states the case that we aren't a risk to invest in. And so it's extremely important for there to be wildly successful outcomes. It's important because the more of us that do it, it's not just a Black thing. It's a BIPOC thing. It's a being a woman thing. Even if you don't consider yourself that, the world that we're in right now is an interesting one. It's going to be even harder for us to be successful. So because of that, we have to be able to pass the torch to the next one.
The revolution is financial.
It is.
And you are a role model for exactly that.
Yeah.
But of course, the other criticism was the change of the formulation.
That was the next viral moment.
And what have you learned from these viral moments and how to handle it best, especially as a CEO today, under so much scrutiny where everything you do?
I've learned that you have to get out in front of it. The old school PR rules was that you don't say anything, you just let it boil over. Well, those rules don't apply today because social media is alive and well. It's kind of like the way that artificial intelligence will be in the future, where we will just lose control of it. That's where we are with social media. The control is lost. It's gone. Billions of people are on these platforms. So it doesn't take anything for the wrong message or a lie or anything to get out into the world. And if you're a brand which I'm very grateful to say is as culturally relevant as Honey Pot is, which I don't say that with ego. I really appreciate that. People are just waiting to bring it down. And so the thing that I learned, even though we may have been advised differently, is that I have to speak the truth from our point of view because we're the ones that are dealing with it. We're the ones that knew what happened. All of the largest brands in the world change formulations all the time. In fact, there's so many reasons why formulations change. And if you look at where we were at the time coming out of COVID, where ingredients may be available or not available, things change all the time. Sometimes you just don't have access to something. And guess what you got to do? You have to change your formulation. And so one thing that I learned was, like I said, you have to get out in front of it and speak your truth. And me as the leader, I've done that in past and I would do that in future. You have to manage your energy. You have to take care of yourself. Yeah. That's the other thing you have to do. Thirdly, you have to care for your team because they're taking the brunt of it too.
The question that I have now in this chapter, you've added Chief Innovation Officer, Chief Visionary Officer on top of being CEO. What does this next chapter of Bea as a leader look like and what can we expect for Honey Pot?
Honestly, it doesn't look much different than it looked before. I have an incredible president, Ali Savaya, because we're kind of like co-CEOs. It allows me to focus in on the areas that I really excel in, which is innovation, is strategic thinking, being the face, being out in the world. It's kind of being the matriarch of this business.
I love that.
Because it has a soul, a real one. Mm-hmm. And it's not just my intuitions that's locked into that. It's the team's intuition that's locked into that.
From living in motels to leading a 9-figure brand, Beatrice Dixon's story is one of conviction, proof to me that purpose and profit can coexist if done correctly. For founders, investors, and leaders alike, here are my key takeaways from her journey. Number 1, always invest in yourself first, when you can. Bea put her own money into early products, signaling readiness to retailers and investors alike. Serious founders invest early, even before external validation. Number 2, authenticity as a strategy. She built trust in a taboo category by naming things as they are and serving her community with honesty, turning brand purpose into a moat. Number 3, capital clarity. She raised only when ready, knowing exactly what the money was for. Discipline in fundraising preserves equity and power. Number 4, exit on your own terms. Bea walked away from a $450 million offer that didn't align with her values, instead choosing a $380 million deal that allowed her to keep ownership, leadership, and her team intact. And finally, scale with soul. Beyond products, she invested in community, education, and wellness culture, building advocacy and long-term defensibility. Beatrice Dixon's story from homelessness to a multi-$100 million exit is proof that purpose, foresight and refusal to compromise can defy expectations. And with that, thanks for tuning in to Billion Dollar Moves. If you found value in today's conversation, share it with a fellow builder or funder and hit subscribe to support our work here. Until next time, keep moving with capital and conviction. My name is Sarah Chen-Spellings, signing off.